on my YouTube. Yeah. It's like Matthew.Evans or it's BA Baracus 20. But I can shoot that to you guys in an announcement. But yeah, I usually put them on a thing called Edpuzzle, which you're going to experience in my other classes. But yeah, if that's going to help you study for this class, yes, I can put those. You can watch them. All right, so today we're going to talk about fatigue, muscle soreness, and muscle cramps. Anybody ever been fatigued? Anybody ever had a cramp? The ones who shook their head are good at hydrating, probably. Muscle soreness, the older you get, the more you get. The other day, I did my workout from the class, so I did like 25 reps all the way around the weight room, and I hadn't lifted in probably 6 months, so it was before the baby was born, sometime during last quarter, and I did one set of 25 all the way around. I was sore for 2 days. Like, man, and I did put a lot of weight on them. I failed usually around 20. So like I pushed a little more than I probably should have. I probably should have like shied on the go to 25 reps and make it simple just to get back into it. But I'm competitive. All right, so here I'm going to speed through this a little bit and just hopefully you can see it well enough because you'll actually be able to see like a muscle actually cramping in these videos. So I apologize if it's a little...
Hey everyone, I appreciate you guys. Video. C-Strunk has rushed for 178 yards, including the 76-yard touchdown. The game is being played in December in Waco, Texas. Temperature for this period was anywhere from 43 to 58 degrees. C-Strunk experiences a cramp during his run. We're all familiar with this episode and also understand how much or how such an occurrence can impact us all. As a strength and conditioning professional, we understand how this can be limiting to the athlete's performance. As trainers, we understand how a simple muscle cramp can lead to a cascade of events that ultimately leads to injury. And as medical staff, we understand how the methodologies in preventing against such an issue may have importance to our profession. For the coaches, we must consider a famous quote by Bill Parcells. He says that half the games on any given Sunday in the NFL are determined by 7 points or less. And half of those are another. And as he jogs, Dan cramp, observing his calf muscle ballooning and reflective of dehydration and electrolyte imbalance as the ultimate cause of exercise-associated muscle cramps. Don't blame my reaction as I sat there observing his calf muscle ballooning and relaxing at almost a rhythmic pace. I went into my instincts and relied on previously understood information. Despite a great focus on nutrition and hydration by the team, by our training staff, and myself, I view greater hydration or more liquid intake as an opportunity to resolve the issue.
That is a
more liquid, more salt would resolve this issue. This was the line of thought for many games during that season. However, recent research has challenged this.
Woo! So just seeing like what a muscle looks like when it's, as most people don't look at the muscle when it's cramping, they're usually just trying to like stretch it out. But to watch, like it's like involuntarily flexing, because usually your calf muscle is a voluntary contraction. You think about flexing your calf, so just being able to watch it catch all the different fibers go on. So that's what your muscles are doing when you're having a full-on muscle cramp. All right, so here's kind of the gory details here. So the two definitions of fatigue. So one, you're going to have like decrement in your muscle performance. So that could be just like you're playing golf. Usually you hit it 150 yards to this shot, and when you hit this one, it comes up 15 yards short. You're like, wait, what's going on? Well, I'm on the 18th hole, and I'm tired, and I'm not swinging as hard, so I'm getting some muscle fatigue. So like a decrement in the performance. Then the accompanying by sensations of tiredness. Your body actually is purposely slowing down to prevent injury. So that's why your body feels fatigue. That's why you feel muscle soreness in the middle of a basketball game or a football game, is that you're trying to get everything going, or it's your body saying, hello, I'm going to hurt. And the good news is most of it's reversible just by resting up and trying again. All right, so fatigue is kind of a complex phenomenon. We don't know every detail about it. We know sections and parts of it that can be studied, but we don't have like an overall what exactly happens, why your muscles feel sore. But we do know that the type of exercise you do, the intensity of that exercise, me doing, trying to fail at 20 reps the other day after not exercising for 6 months, or lifting weights for 6 months, was not smart. That made it so that the type of exercise that I was over intense, and that's why I was sore for 2 days. The type of muscle fiber that you're using, whether it's type 1, type 2, A or B or X, and then whatever your training status is, and never underestimate diet. This weekend's going to be the volleyball tournament, and the one item you will struggle to find in the cafeteria this weekend will be a banana. Because the players' coaches are going to tell them, eat bananas so that you can have enough potassium to not have as many muscle cramps. So I've always noticed that in the CAF on any high school tournament weekend, you'll have a hard time finding bananas because they'll just be gone. Or you'll even see like coaches carrying a box of bananas for the whole weekend for a tournament. My coaches did that, especially football tournaments outside where you're sweating all the time. Yeah. So the major causes that they can come up with is inadequate energy or metabolism to the muscles, accumulation of metabolic byproducts like lactic acid, which we talked about yesterday, failure for the muscle to the contractile mechanism, and then altered neural control of the muscle contraction. That's what the cramp that we were watching in the video a little bit ago was. Possible sites of fatigue is not enough ATP. Or the byproducts there. And then the nervous system could be part of it. Like the nervous system actually blocks the voluntary contractions because the muscle's just done. So that could be like the spinal cord is doing that. The peripheral nervous system there would be a nerve between the spinal cord and the muscle. And so that would be another place that it might just block it off. So your peripheral nervous system, have you ever they would hit like your knee and your leg will go? That's an involuntary contraction. Your body can actually like say, nope, this muscle's not going anymore. And that was like that dude running down the field going, nope, muscle's not going anymore. So when you are so you first use all your ATP. The next thing you use up is your PCRs that's in the muscles already. So people supplement with creatine. It does work for some parts of it, but not all of it. So phosphocreatine is a short-term, high-intensity effort. It depletes quicker than the total. And as the phosphate ions accumulate, that could be a possible cause of fatigue. Pacing helps defer that as well. Do be careful if you do have anybody, or if you're trying to take creatine to like bulk up. It can cause weight gain because you're going to actually hold on to more water when you have more creatine in your body. So in some ways, if like you're taking creatine before like an endurance run, not recommended. It kind of negates any, because it's actually going to you're going to gain weight, but you're going to also hold on to more water. So like it kind of negates each other. Like, okay, so I'm going to hold on to more water, but I'm going to weigh more. So does it really make that much difference in helping me run farther? Nah, probably not. It might help a cyclist, though, is one of the things that they were thinking about, because they don't care as much about their weights. So when you have when your ATP energy, so after you're done, your glycogen's depleted, your long-term performance, so this will be after like a 2 to 3 hour. Let's say you're playing flag football at Rio on Sunday morning, and you're on your second game of the day. So you've done 2 to 3 hours of exercising. Muscle glycogen's low, your liver glycogen's low, it's depleted before the muscles is. Your may even be hypoglycemic, as in not enough sugar, or too much sugar. Your brain relies on that. So one thing I've noticed when I get dehydrated, I get sleepy tired, and I get a little bit kind of like directionally confused. So it's I have to be really careful with myself, knowing that if I'm going for like a long hike, like when I try to hike up to Half Dome, is if I get dehydrated, I have to pay really close attention to make sure I follow the trail. So that doesn't happen. So other depletions are going to be muscles, your fibers. You rely more on FAX oxidation to recover from that. So when you get to glycogen depletion, so when your body slows down, you're going to need more glycogen to resupply everything. So that's either glycolysis or glycogen taken from either carbs or fats. So depletion is correlated with fatigue, so the total glycogen level, and they'll test this by taking blood samples while you're exercising. That's how they're getting all this information. And it depletes quicker the higher the intensity. So creatine is another one that can work here. It'll give you a few more seconds of energy because phosphocreatine is one of those fast energy stores. But again, not really good for endurance kind of runners. So as you're getting further into the glycogen depletion, your fiber types and recruitment patterns might change. So fibers recruited first are usually the ones that are the quicker releasing ones. So those are going to deplete the fastest. So those type 1 fibers are going to go out quicker. So type 1s are going first, then type 2s next, and type 3s for that maximum intensity. So when you start that sprints, let's say in sports, you're going to be using the lighter ones first, and then the harder you go at the end of the run, the more you're using the speed ones. I used to do a thing called Sweet 16s in our practices. And when you get to that last 4 of them, at that point, you're on the maximum intensity, or you might even be past that point, because we try to have them do 16 in 1 minute. I don't do a ton of running in my practices like that, though. So different muscle groups are going to deplete first. Activity-specific ones are going to deplete the fastest. Football players, it's usually their calves. We had one at the Lodi tournament a couple weekends ago. Dude was the funniest cramp I have ever had in a game. The guy fell down after a play. I think it was a defender. He dove for it, and he's like, But we're like, oh no. And he's like, it's a cramp, it's a cramp, it's a cramp, it's a cramp. And he was just like saying it over and over, and it was just entertaining. He was just laughing. He was just going at it so hard. At least we knew he wasn't like actually hurt. I was like, somebody get that man a Gatorade and a banana. Or actually, apples are pretty good too. But most people don't want to eat an apple like during competition. But it is pretty good to eat an apple like at halftime. So your depletion of blood glucose as the muscle glycogen is insufficient for whatever exercise you're doing. Your liver glycogen is going to go into the blood. So my muscle glycogen is going to drop, but the liver glycogenesis is going to go faster to replenish that for the rest of the body and send it through the blood to the muscles so that they can do there. As your muscle glycogen depletes, you get hypoglycemic, causing fatigue. Yeah. So this is a calf muscle, is what they did here. So they were measuring the muscle glycogen as they were exercising. What did I see here? On 70% of their VO2 max for 3 hours. So they were taking blood samples, looks like about every 30 minutes. So at the beginning here, they had 160-ish. And then you can see every half an hour as it dropped that much more. And the further along they went, it caused hypoglycemia, which reduces glucose to the brain. Your brain loses coordinationing. You think, and you think you're working harder too. So here's the person's rate. They call it the RPE, or rate of perceived exertion. You're going to do that in our VO2 max tests when we do that. Again, they did this. Looks like every 20 minutes maybe here, and yeah, we'll go into that in more details. But as further along they got, the less glycogen they had, the higher they thought, or the harder they thought they were working. And it looks like they went till they were exhausted, which was almost 3 hours. Interestingly, about an hour and a half into it, so halfway through that run, they didn't think they were working more than a moderate pace, even though they had the same pace the entire time. So again, what it looks like for the fast twitch muscles to slow twitch muscles. So this would be after a 30-kilometer run, the fast twitch muscle is circled. Another chemical thing here of a muscle. Note the type 2 fibers still have this is a histochemical straining. How much glycogen is left in the muscle? The one that has the most is the fast twitch muscle after a 30-kilometer run. So the place that replenishes the fastest is the fast twitch for your glycogen reserves. So this would be running on 70% during a 2-hour level uphill and downhill running. So this would be how much glycogen was used when they were level. So this would be on the hamstrings, this would be on the calf, and this would be another part of the calf. So notice the calf does most of the work when you're running, at least when it comes to your glycogen use. Take a standing break. I need it. All right, so that's all about the glycogen. So now we're going to go into some of the other chemicals in the body that cause fatigue. So you're going to have phosphate ions, and that's when we did the ADP to ATP and PCR system there. And when you go ATP to ADP, one of the byproducts is a phosphate ion goes out into the bloodstream. So heat's going to be retained to the body, which is going to make your core temperature go up, which is why we all sweat. Lactic acid is also formed through anaerobic glycolysis. And then you're going to have extra hydrogen ions caused by your muscle pH going up, which is going to have some hydrogens and lactic acids. Both kinds of exercise are going to do it, and then extra calcium there. It's going to be going along as well. So lactic acid accumulates during brief and high-intensity exercises. So we showed a little bit about this yesterday. So if not cleared immediately, the lactate converts into hydrogen, and then that hydrogen accumulates in your body, causing that pH to go up, and then that's what kind of feels sore as you're exercising there. Some people drink a thing called Gatorade, which, if you want to know what the technical term of Gatorade is, it's sodium bicarbonate, which is actually going to have the opposite of acidosis. So it's actually going to correct the pH level in your muscles, hopefully replenishing it quicker so that you can get back in the game, as their things can sometimes be. So buffers help that pH, but it's not always enough. So the minimum would be 7.1 to 6.5, but you don't want it to drop really low. But there are things in your body that are going to help cover that. I don't think you need to know those numbers there. Just know that there's other ways to lower it besides drinking Gatorade. So a couple other ones here. So development of muscle insufficiency is a major determinant in fatigue. So the impairment of ATP and the turnover and all the Krebs cycles and everything that go with that. Reactive oxygen also accumulates, so impairing the mitochondria to give more energy to your cells there is going to slow that PCR recovery and reduce the oxidative ATP production in your muscles. So here would be that muscle pH. It starts out at 7.1, so it's those numbers we were talking a little in that last slide there. So it drops immediately. You do that 100-yard sprint or whatever. Maybe you sprint one play in football or maybe an entire football game. But either way, one hard effort, the pH level to get all the way back up is 35 minutes for your body for that pH level to fully recover. So more than 30 minutes. The one that I think about most when I think about this. Do you guys remember when Michael Phelps had 11 medals in one Olympics? That means there were 11 races in a week, and most of them had a prelim that he had to be in. Some of them had a semifinal and a final, but at minimum 2 races, prelim and a final, to get into that. So if he had 11 medals, that means he had to swim 22 times in 7 days at Olympic level effort. So think about if it it takes 35 minutes for your muscles to recover the right pH level to be at 100%. Trying to plan out all his races so that he was not within the recovery time, and all the recovery he had to do in between races was insane. He had like trainers rubbing his muscles, ice baths, pretty much every recovery you can think of. And there was one of the Olympics, he even had like the big like cupping marks all over his body that he was doing to help with aid in the recovery in between races, basically. But he did it like the week before to help increase blood circulation. I don't understand the whole cupping thing. It hasn't stuck around very long, but it was just one of those things that they did. So the neurotransmission, so the failure might occur between the neuromuscular junction, preventing the muscle from activating. So this is another one, we don't know all the reason why. There's more research needs to be done in this area. It's just hard to actually research it and study it. So some of the things that might do this, causing the body to just not let the muscle contract, could be there's not enough acetylcholine synthesis, could be altered breakdown at the synapses, because remember it comes from the neuron to the synapse and then goes out to the muscle, then it tells it to contract. So increasing that muscle fiber stimulus threshold might be part of it, or altering the muscle's resting potential. So all they say, or fatigue may inhibit calcium release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, SR. So other cause would be the central nervous system. So we know that it plays a role, we just don't know exactly how. So it's interesting that we've had human bodies for so long, but there's still things we don't know about exercise yet. So fiber recruitment is a conscious aspect. That's what I was saying. Like when your calf is running, you think about it is a voluntary motion to run. So when that gets cut off, that's where we're like the central nervous system is doing something. So stress could be it. The person could be subconsciously or consciously unwilling to endure the pain. Because there are some people that are like, oh, my mother. I love my mother, but she is not good at going through the pain. And she has complained. I couldn't say. I think she was working at summer camp in her 20s. She's in her 60s now. And when she went around a tree, she was riding a horse, and she went around a tree. Her toe got caught in her knee as the horse went by, and she's complained about knee pain ever since. And anytime she does any exercise, it's always, oh, my knees hurt. She pretty much needs knee replacements now. So something really did happen, and she probably should have had knee surgery in her 20s. And so now in her 60s, she's going to need probably a double knee replacement, as long as she can get her physical level up to the point that a surgeon will actually do it. Because it was touch and go there in February, where she was in the hospital for blood clots because she had been sitting for so long. So she's doing tons better right now. But definitely the subconscious, or even consciously, oh, that hurts, I'm not going to do it. Like she would never fight through the pain, which is kind of the opposite of my dad, my brother, and I. We're the ones that roll our ankles and finish the game. That kind of people. So totally difference there. So evidence, so arousal methods can achieve higher performance, perceived discomfort from fatigue. The place you're probably going to experience that extreme fatigue in your body is when we do our VO2 max test. Because you choose when the test is over. So you can either choose to fight through the exhaustion for a couple more seconds to get a little bit more, or you might just cut it off. And then the next time you try it, you might get a higher VO2 max because your body's used to it now. You know how far you can push yourself. You're like, I think I can push a few more seconds and try to get a little bit higher VO2. So the more times you do it, it might just be subconsciously, I can push past this. So that's where we're not sure where it's the central nervous system telling you, or different pain thresholds for people. So there might be some psychobiological aspects in here. So conscious decision. Yeah, I just pretty much talked about self-talk as a strategy to reduce fatigue. The mountain biking couple that I watched, they record themselves as they're mountain biking extreme races, and one of them is a big self-talker. come on, Mackie, you can do this. You can see the person in front of you. He's a big self-talker. I'm like, yeah, there are people that works for. I'm not one of them. I'm not good at self-talk. I'm pretty good with somebody else encouraging me. I'm not as good like in my head or like vocally saying it when I'm trying to like run the mile or something like that. I'm not good at that. Fiber recruitment has a conscious aspect to it. So when you get more stressed and you need that extra 5 yards or you need to get one more play, you need to hit one more shot. The girl that was out here shooting a little bit ago, she missed like 3 shots in a row. She's trying to do her last thing. I'm like, come on, fourth quarter, got to make the last shot. And then she throws it. Some people, it works. But consciously or subconsciously, you may just choose to discard the fatigue so that you can win the game. And some people are better at that than others. Your professional athletes are probably way better at it than others. So heat and muscle transfer, this is probably the one that you're going to run into the most often. When it's extra hot outside, you're going to have more players with fatigue. So heat alters their metabolic rate. It increases the carbohydrate utilization, hastens or hinders glycogen, or increases glycogen depletion. Yeah, because you're using it. Muscle temperature impairs function. So time to exhaustion, when the ambient temperature, or the time to exhaustion is longest at 11 degrees Celsius. I have it on a chart here in a second. What's one here? So time to exhaustion at 11 degrees, so 51 degrees is the perfect temperature for an outdoor sporting event. You will have the highest number, or the highest level of people not becoming fatigued at 51 degrees. At 70 degrees, it goes down. So they had 94 minutes here, so 81 minutes. Going from 50 degrees to 87, it's more than 87 out right now. When I checked a little bit ago, I got 91 on my watch. So it's 91 degrees outside. So 52 minutes compared to 92 minutes to exhaustion. That's almost half the amount of time. So it goes pretty quick. And then humidity is another one that makes a big difference as well. When the relative humidity is 24, which would probably be most of California, but when you get up to 60 and 80%, which would be like Nebraska is probably about 60% humidity on average. And I would say Florida, 80% humidity is probably fairly normal. Tennessee in the summer, you walk outside, you feel like you can just cut the humidity with a knife. It's just like the air just feels thick as you've been walking through it. I worked 9 summers at summer camp in Tennessee, so I dealt with it a lot. But definitely the time to exhaustion, again, from 68 minutes to 46 minutes. So it's, again, about a third the difference. So be careful with your athletes when it's hot or when it's humid out. So tolerable duration of high-intensity exercises. So that link between energy and fatigue. So the highest metabolic rate maintains entirely to the oxidative metabolisms. And you can correlate that from anywhere from a 2-minute to 2-hour thing. And we're going to see some charts about this. So here's that wattage. Let's say it's cycling. So the relationship between power output in watts and the time that the power can be maintained, they call critical power, is defined as the asymptote in the relationship. So that's where you can't go anymore. So if somebody was trying to use that cycle ergonometer, where you're trying to go, it'll give you here's how hard you have to go to maintain that same speed and keep 700 watts. Yeah, that's where it ends up sliding out there. 340 watts is like trying to climb a mountain biking hill. I don't know if you guys have tried biking in the back 40 here. Biking as hard as you can, going up a hill is about 300 watts. So let's just give you somebody was a pro athlete, was really hard for the first 2 minutes, and then they kind of leveled out at about a mountain bike climbing height. Standing break, last one. So, Stephen, are you a Padres fan or just have the shorts? You are. Are they doing all right this year? I say they got a really good player.
I like
Nice. I don't pay tons of attention to baseball. I'm happy to be able to watch any like pro football. I watch like a. So, do you still cheer for the Chargers? Oh, okay. I like that. I am a Chiefs fan. I haven't always been because when they sucked, it drove me nuts because it's kind of like here where they're showing the Raiders games all the time on TV. And I'm just like, I'm tired of watching the Raiders. I'm like, they're not even from here anymore. They're from Vegas, but they still show them on TV every week. So that was the Chiefs most of my childhood. And then they got Mahomes and got better. And I actually started watching and cheering for them before Mahomes when they got Andy Reid. I like him as a coach. I liked what he was doing in Philadelphia. And when he swapped over to the Chiefs, I was like, this is good because I liked him there. So I started really kind of cheering for the Chiefs at that point. I loved Alex Smith. Oh, do you listen to his podcasts? Huh? Last year, at least, I don't know if he's doing the ESPN Daily podcast. He would do the Sunday or the Monday morning quarterback, where he would just kind of go over each game and he'd do his, the analysis of it. And his stuff was really good. And we can blame Alex Smith for why Patrick Mahomes is so good. He trained him. I still remember the commentators being like, yeah, they got this really good kid out of Texas Tech. But he's sitting this whole year working under Andy Reid's system, and Alex Smith was doing his thing. All right, moving along. So results of muscle soreness. Results from high exhaustive or high intensity exercises, especially performed for the first time, and in my case, in 6 months. Yeah, that was wonderful pain there. Can be felt anytime. It could be acute, as in like happens right away, right after you do a lift, and then you're like trying to walk back across the room. You're like, oh man, my quad or my hamstrings were just sore from doing squats. And I did 25 squats with. I think I put 25s on each side, so it's 95. And when you haven't lifted weights in 6 months, yeah, like just walking across the room was sore. Then there's the delayed onset soreness, so that we call DOMS. That's where you feel it for like 2 days. I'll definitely feel that after doing multiple sets of like bicep stuff. My biceps will hurt for a day or so. Legs, on the other hand, whenever I work those hard, I'll feel that for 2 days. Yeah, and we're going to go into DOMS more, I think, here in just a second. So you can feel muscle soreness immediately following, and that's going to be from all those metabolic byproducts and the hydrogen atoms going up there, pH level going up. Tissue edema. How many of you guys, I just want to know, how many of you have worked out, did your whole biceps, triceps, and then you go to the mirror in the gym and you're like, that looks really good. Do you know why your muscle actually looks bigger? Because there's more blood in the muscle, and therefore it looks just a little bit bigger. And the medical term for that is tissue edema. So when you try to flex in the mirror there and it looks bigger after you did your set, it's actually because of there's more fluid in the muscle to make it look just a little bit bigger. So acute muscle swelling. So a little bit is okay, a lot of bit is bad. Because that's when like you roll your ankle and your ankle swells up. Yeah, that's also edema. And that can disappear in minutes to hours. DOMS. Oh, man. Again, the older you get, the more you feel this delayed onset muscle soreness. So it can range from just being stiff to be like severe restrictive pain. When I pulled my hamstring last year, I felt it for 2 days afterwards. And that was just from trying to play softball. When I hit it, and I just sprinted to first base. And at the very end, I'm like, oh! Yeah, that hurt. That felt for a long time. So the major cause is usually an eccentric contraction. So example, like a level run, it doesn't hurt too bad. A level run compared to going down. Actually, I feel it going down because my knees will hurt. Not too badly anymore, but my surgery knee, I'll feel it going downhill. So not caused by blood lactate. We do need to talk just a little bit about rhabdomyolysis. Rhabdomyolysis, I can't remember how to pronounce that. So if a player of yours comes up to you and says, Coach, I just peed blood, that can be a major warning sign. So if there's brown or weird colors in the urine, That could be a kidney problem, and that could be life-threatening. So be real careful if you have a player that gets exercised really hard and then say, "Coach, I got a problem," and they're talking about their urine being funny colored. That would be a warning sign to get them checked out, probably at the ER very quickly, so that in case something really bad happens. Doesn't happen often. Like, you got less than 1% chance of that really being the problem, but just any weird colored urine, go get that checked out as quick as you can at the ER. Structural damage is indicated by muscle enzymes in the blood. So the concentrations go up 2 to 10 times heavier, and that onset is going to parallel those muscle enzymes in the blood. So your sarcomeres, Z-dicks, or anchoring points are the anchor points for your contractile muscles and those proteins. And I say the Z-dicks in myofilament damage when it comes to eccentric. So that you can think of as you're letting the bicep curl down. That's the eccentric. You're trying to counteract that. You're going to have more muscle soreness from the eccentric movement than the concentric movement going up. Same thing with squats. If the eccentric is going down, concentric is going up. So when you slow it down, if you do more emphasis on the eccentric motion, you're going to have more muscle soreness afterwards.
So just going on that, is that the main muscle moving part? Eccentric?
Yeah. You're gonna break down more tissues on the eccentric motion than you are in the concentric motion. So that's something I pay a lot of attention to the first 2 weeks here in my weight training class. Because I don't like when people do bicep curls and then it's gonna pop back there and into the legs. Slow going down, slow going up. Control up, control down, is what I usually say. And muscle damage precipitates hypertrophy as you tear down the muscle fibers. As they come back together, they get stronger and bigger. We have more questions. We'll have more on that later. So inflammation and soreness are connected. So when the white blood cells are there to defend against foreign pathogens, the white blood cell count increases. Subsequent is related to initiated inflammation. So your muscles are attracting neutrophils. Neutrophils release chemicals, and they release things to stimulate the pain nerves to say, "Hello, this hurts, let's stop." And then the macrophages are all then going to remove all the cell debris and then rebuild the muscle fibers up. So generally, the sequence of events, I'm doing on time here. It's going to be, you're going to have high tension in the muscle of some sort. Probably, let's just use weightlifting, for example, but it could be any other things. So structural damage to the muscle and the cell membrane from that eccentric motion. The membrane is damaged, which serves the calcium homeostasis in that individual fiber. That's going to inhibit cellular respiration, and then enzymes are going to degrade the Z-discs. And then after a couple hours, the neutrophils are going to circulate through. They're going to clear out all the byproducts. And so the intracellular contents are going to accumulate, stimulate pain-free nerve endings, and then are definitely worse with eccentric. And the fluid and electrocytes shift to that area, causing edema, causing swelling, to hopefully fix that. So here's what the pictures of that looks like. I mean, we can talk about it a bunch, but it makes more sense. So here would be a marathoner's muscle from their leg right after they finished a marathon. Notice there are tears and rips in between each muscle fiber. Can I help? Why are you going? No.
I'm looking for swim teacher.
She's not in here yet. No, she hasn't come through here. Probably through the locker rooms is where she'd be waiting. I'd go through, that she's probably got those things out there. So there's what the leg would look like. So before the marathon, after a marathon, this would be the Z-discs here broken down that we were just talking about. Nothing for the actin and myosin to pull on. Go really quick here. When your legs hurt, they're not going to have as much performance. And there's a bunch of reasons why, which we probably can pretty much tell here. So you want to minimize by doing some slow, intensive workouts. Don't go straight into don't sprint to first base without stretching first. Kind of where that would go. Can you speed up your recovery? Well, your book doesn't say, but you can try massage, ice, heat, any of those things to anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen, any antioxidants. But you'd want to do most of that kind of stuff within an hour. So like drinking Gatorade within an hour of exercise can help with recovery, not a ton, but a little bit. Exercise-associated muscle cramps. This would be the one where you overwork it and the player falls down going, ow, 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 my calf. Usually it's treated with stretching. I have seen people like on the sidelines of like pro games where they actually put like electrical stimulators on the muscles to make them, to try to relax the muscles. Seems kind of counterproductive, but I have seen it. Last thing, altered muscle control is the neuromuscular control theory. So the cramps develop from hyperexcitable motor neurons, is what they think it might be. So the peripheral origin develops from spontaneous discharges in the motor terms. The older you are, your cramping history. I had a basketball player that every fourth quarter, he was about 6'6" black guy when I was at Thunderbird. And every fourth quarter for the first 3 games, he wouldn't want to come out of the game. I also couldn't take him out of the game because I had nobody else over 6 foot. He would get a cramp in the fourth quarter. And so we had to work on his hydration. Like, you need to drink water during the games. He's like, coach, I never drink during the game. I'm like, well, are you drinking like a gallon of water before the game starts or a giant water bottle worth? Oh, maybe I should do that. So what we ended up doing with him is I would give him a water bottle in warm-ups and say, drink this whole thing. And then at halftime, I would give him a Gatorade and force him to drink that. And lo and behold, he could play the whole game, no cramps in the fourth quarter. So making sure you, as somebody's cramping history, you're going to have a chance to get more of them. Boop. And then heat cramps, that's where it can get a lot worse. So that's where you get large sweats and electrolyte losses. Yeah. All right. Any questions? Quiz tonight, and I'll shoot you guys an email with my YouTube channel if you want to watch these lectures, because I do put them up there.